Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. For today's ride we're back in Staffordshire exploring one of the oldest trail centres in the UK, Cannock Chase. Today's ride takes place on the Monkey Trail. The other main trail here is called Follow the Dog. On the channel back in September we explored Follow the Dog and it certainly has some challenges of its own.
Go on, yes.
So if you haven't seen that video yet, go and check that out a bit later on. The Monkey Trail gets straight into the thick of it with a tough first section. It's called the Lungbuster.
This will answer the question that people always ask. Can enduro bikes climb? Well, let's see.
This is a steep and winding climb which today has some slippery rocks and muddy sections to contend with. If you're just starting your ride, then this can be a killer first section because you haven't given your legs time to warm up yet. Before starting the Monkey Trail today, I'd already ridden the whole of Follow the Dog, so my legs aren't exactly feeling fresh at this point, but at least they've had a bit of a warm-up. One of the good things about having a big climb right out the gates is that you know you've just banked a decent chunk of downhill to come. This first little descent on a section called Tight Squeeze is a good introduction to the trail. It also gave me an opportunity to suss out the trail conditions here, as there had been a bit of a storm in the last week. But up here there were a few puddles, but it wasn't too wet. However, a couple of riders had warned me about some of the sections later on. As you can hear, my brakes are not too happy at the moment. They've already done an hour and a half of wet and muddy riding, which brings me to my next point. Because you're travelling quite a distance from the nearest trail centre, it's a good idea to bring any extras like food and tools that you might need with you, just in case. This is only the second time that I've ridden at Cannock Chase. I've heard from other riders that there have been a lot of trail changes going on here recently, some for better and some for worse, so I'm really keen to see what might have changed since my last trip. After this little downhill flurry, you're back on the pedals with another woody switchback climb. The Monkey Trail is about 7.5 miles long and is only around 700 feet of ascent, which isn't really huge in trail terms. For reference, Follow the Dog is around 6.7 miles long and only 500 feet of ascent. Bearing this in mind, the route the trail takes is designed to maximise the terrain. It works well with the gradients to make the ride as enjoyable as possible. Although steep in places, the climbs aren't very technical, so a good level of fitness definitely comes in handy for trails like this.
So the first couple of sections of the Monkey Trail are pretty uphill, but it's good to get quite a lot of the climbing out of the way. It means you've got a lot more descending to come, which is always awesome. But I have been told it's pretty wet around here, so better be on my game.
I can see why this section is called Pot of Gold, because after slogging it up the hills to get here, you're rewarded with this awesome piece of descent. This is the first real downhill section on the Monkey Trail, and it's great to see what the trail is capable of. I love this snaking style of riding where you're winding around the trees and zigzagging from side to side.
Oh yeah, this is nice. Great to be going downhill. A couple of little steps, a few nice berms. Nice flowing left to right, awesome.
Although some of the trails here have a gravel base, most of them at Cannock Chase are left pretty natural. This can mean that they suffer from a bit of wear and tear, and when you're riding in conditions like these, it definitely becomes noticeable.
Oh, a few puddles.
This was a pretty fun stage to ride, and the trail really does pick a good line through the trees. Most of the best downhill sections come towards the end of the trail, so it's great to see fun sections like this all throughout. After navigating the first descent, the next few sections have a flow to them as you slowly work your way through the forest. There are a few little ups, a few little downs, avoiding some trees, and plenty of pedalling thrown in for good measure. Check it out. Everything was going well on my ride until I reached this point.
Original monkey closed. Now, I rode at Cannock Chase about a year ago and I swear it was closed then as well. Well, this section to the right definitely was. So it's a long time to have a section closed. Or it could just be my bad luck.
So with these sections closed here, I had to take the detour.
This detour sucks. So damn muddy. More diversions up ahead. Back on the track. Ooh.
Riding this trail last year, I remember it being a lot gnarlier. So as I said today, I'm riding my full suspension bike. Due to the amount of pedalling you have to do here, this bike is definitely overkill for the trails at Cannock Chase. They're probably more suited to a hardtail or short travel bike. At this point in the trail, everything starts to flow a bit more and the descents start to become a bit more frequent. But I did start noticing a few things about the condition of the trails. Although there are some interesting features and nice lines to take, the back nine here on the Monkey Trail was starting to get a bit rough.
Pretty wet.
Some of the other riders had warned me about the conditions from here on out, so it was interesting to see what they were about. The trail itself had a lot of sections where it was worn away, had potholes and just bad drainage. Although inevitable, puddles on a trail are not beneficial for any part of mountain biking. We get wet, they slow us down, and they also make it a nightmare to film with a decent picture and sound quality, like this. This is a shame because the sections would be amazing with a little bit of TLC and they would definitely be easier to ride in the dry. Although the conditions could be a little better, nothing beats zooming through the trees on a decent trail descent, and these sections definitely fulfill that description. So if you were thinking about coming to ride here, what sort of thing would I recommend? My advice for this trail is to sneak up on the climbs. There are a lot of them. There's also a lot of pedalling to be done, but some of the best riding comes in the last couple of sections of the trail, so save your legs for the downhill.
Okay, the section's called Snap It. Let's hope I don't. So it's quite close in the trees, but it's nice and flowy so far. Oh, little drop off there, missed that. Oh.
It was definitely a bit tight in places, and I was quickly learning how wide my bars really are.
Oh. Awesome.
Earlier I mentioned trail maintenance, and this section is a good example of this. It's good to see that they're making improvements to the trails elsewhere, because it's easy to see some sections are in a pretty bad way. There are a lot of collapsed berms, big holes in the trail, and it's clear to see that drainage is definitely an issue in the winter months. Without all the potholes and puddles, I think this section would be the best on the trail. Some of these puddles were actually pretty deep ruts. On a couple of them, I was genuinely saved by the fact that I'm riding a bike with 150mm of travel. Otherwise, it definitely would have been OTB. So from here on out, not knowing quite how deep the puddles were, I had to go a bit slower than I wanted. But in the summer, when this is dry and you can see the trail in front of you, I'm sure you can speed down this section with no problems. But today, it definitely felt like a bit of a challenge.
Woo. Those puddles are so deep. You probably can't see a thing on the camera.
Although conditions may not be perfect, riding trails like this is still great fun. After all, mountain biking is about being outdoors. And you can't let a little bit of water get in the way of having fun. Riding in less than perfect conditions can help you build a stronger skill set and improve your confidence on the bike. All this will generally make you a better rider.
Let me show you something. I am absolutely soggy from that. I hope you can see that. Well, the sun has now come out, but those puddles were so deep. Oh, My feet are so squelchy. Oh, it's like riding in tadpoles. Disgusting.
Despite the tadpoles, I powered on up Insidious Incline because I knew what was coming next. With this climb, you're paying the trail gods in advance for the next section. After making it this far, I was ready to drop into the final descent of the trail, South Cliff. I remember this one from before, and I've been looking forward to riding it the whole way round. Yeah, I was pretty wet, cold, and definitely tired after riding both of the trails here, but damn, I was stoked to ride some more downhill. So I'll leave you with this final descent. Enjoy.
Drop off there, mister.